All right, good. Whoa, is it? Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Overtime Sports Show. I am your producer and co-host, Ruben Camarillo, and of course, this is hosted by the sports wizard himself, Freddie Heredia. We got all kinds of good sports here for you today. Remember, guys, if you guys are sitting home here with the bridge, the all this crazy bridge traffic, all the paisanos coming in, hey, you want to stick around and check out the sports show while you're waiting for the traffic to clear. So we have a lot of sports here for you today. We got high school football mayhem, they are ready to cap off the season with the championship games. We got high school basketball plus college football, some free agency situations here going on in MLB, and of course, the Cowboys plus the NFL playoff picture. Hey, it's right here, the Overtime Sports Show. Grant Bibb and Pocho Nevadas in the house. Take it away, Freddie. What do we got?
Welcome to the big show, guys, and thank you once again for joining us. We want to thank Hyundai of Del Rio, 1508 Veterans Boulevard in Del Rio, Texas. BestTickets.com. Don't forget, for all your sports venues and concerts, go to BestTickets.com, code OVERTIME24. Bally's Tire Record Service and Nevada's Law Group are great sponsors of the Overtime Sports Show. We got Grant Bibb, as he is in a holiday spirit already over there. So make sure you guys take a drive up to Del Rio, 1508 Veterans Boulevard. And of course, our good friend Poncho Nevadas is up in the DFW and going to some things with his son up there with the combine. Great to see you guys. Thank you guys for coming on today. Texas high school football, we are in the final day of the state championships. Of course, we want to congratulate everybody that has won from 2A, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. And of course, last night, a big game. South Oak Cliff losing by 3 to Richmond Randall. Richmond Randall, their first state title in 5A Division II. Of course, right now, Highland Park and Smith and Valley. Right now at the half, I believe it was 20-14 at the half in 5A Division I. Of course, later on today in 6A Division I, Austin Westlake against North Crowley. North Crowley is third in the nation. Also, Austin Westlake is 11th in the nation rankings. Duncanville is 7th in the rankings. And our good friends over at DeSoto have dropped out of the top 25 after them bowing out in the playoffs. But later on today, also, like I mentioned, Austin Westlake against North Crowley. And in Division II, 6A is Austin Vandergrift and South Lake Carroll. The Dragons are trying to put another hardware into their trophy case. So that's Texas high school football. Guys, have you guys seen any of the Texas high school? I know they do have it on Fox Sports or something like that in one of the as far as, did you guys catch any of the games? I know that there was some great games throughout the Texas high school playoffs.
Shoot, they're being televised?
Yeah, I watched the Stanford game, Bulldogs.
Yeah, they lost to Granado.
They lost to Granado, and so the mayor of Stanford is a friend of mine, so I kind of peeked in. And I caught a little bit of that South Oak Cliff game last night when I got back. And I was going to start watching the Smith and Valley game, but I started watching the SMU game. And so,
yeah. Of course, we got the college football playoffs. And last night, we'll get into that. But last night, Notre Dame took care of what they needed to take care of. And moving on to the next round.
You know, the interesting thing about the high school playoffs is you start to see, and we're starting to see a lot of schools. You know, Salina won their 9th title too. I think it was yesterday, and so you know they're a traditional power, if you will, because they've got 9 titles. But you're starting to see a lot of these suburban schools start to impose themselves. You know, North Crowley is a relatively new school, and it seems like for the last 4 or 5 years they're in the mix. They haven't quite been able to get over the hump, but here they are going to play for a title today. You see some of the old guard, of course, which is your Westlakes and your South Lake Carrolls. But you see schools that, Vandergrift is a relatively new school. And, with this new rule, it's going to be interesting to see this new rule that will allow for transfers to different districts solely for the purposes of athletics. Currently, if you move, let's say you move from the DeSoto district to the Duncanville district, it's on the parent. If it's challenged, it's on the parent and the school district to prove that the move was not done for purposes of athletics. And so that's not going to be the case anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see in areas like the DFW to see how families will move, because moving, let's say, from Duncanville or Lancaster to a DeSoto is not that big of a deal. It's not like you're moving from Eagle Pass to San Antonio or Eagle Pass to Laredo. It's just basically maybe a few miles away, sometimes even a few blocks away, and it won't matter anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see how these coaches and boosters are able to move players around and what that does for the competitiveness of Texas high school football.
Yeah, a big shout out to Carthage. They beat La Vega. Carthage, their 10th. Their 10th. I mean, the coach has 10 rings, man. What the Mustard beat Shiner. Shiner, of course, in the second round they played Brackettville. They demolished Brackettville like 60 something. I don't remember the. Jayton beat Oakwood 54-8 in 1A Division 2. Gordon beat Whiteface. Gunter beat Woodville, and of course, like you mentioned, Salina, another state championship. So
it's Salina, Freddie.
Salina, whatever.
Salina.
I mean,
Salinas.
Salinas. So as you
get it right, Freddie. Get it right.
As you mentioned, most of these schools in 1A, in 2A, and 3A, for the most part, they keep going to the state playoffs. They make big runs, and as you mentioned, the whole moving thing, and it's been like that for years and years and years. Where even in our district, because we have two high schools, one 5A, one 6A, a lot of times it's just a kind of a signature to release the kid, and it's okay, whatever. If it's from and for the most part, a lot of districts, just like in Laredo, they have the schools, United South, Alexander, LBJ. All those schools are called magnet schools because each one has a particular, so to speak, like one school is just a medical school, so to speak. So kids that go to that school can just say, well, I'm going because that's the field that I'm going to go into. And that's how they kind of get away from that whole athletic purposes type of thing, because it and I've heard it and I've seen it. Alexander, I think, is a magnet school for I'm not sure if it was medical or if it was something else, but I know that's the purposes of how Laredo gets around that area. Of course, Cigaroa, Martin, and those schools down there, they're in a rule that like they're so closed in with the demographic as far as where the school's at and whatnot, that they don't get into that situation with Nixon, Cigaroa, and Martin.
You know what? Poncho talked about competitiveness in Texas football. So I know we'll switch gears and kind of go back to our hometown here in Eagle Pass. So a question for you guys. So what do football teams like CC1 and Eagle Pass High School got to do to get to this kind of level of football? And I mean, is it going to have to be done with coaching or physicality, the mental toughness? What's going on there in our department? How can we improve?
No, I mean, you need players. I mean, coaches coach. Grant said this one day, and I think it applies to this situation: is coaches coach and players play. There's certain situations where a coach may give you maybe a slight advantage on game day, but for the most part, it's players. And any program, I don't care which one it is, can always do better developing players. And I've been fortunate enough over the last few years to be around some very good programs. And I can see that even in those places, as much emphasis as they put on developing players, you can still see where there's gaps. And a lot of those gaps have to do their resource gaps, right? You can only do so much because of resources. The other is, I mean, and it's just, and I mentioned this off camera, is when I was, and I've mentioned it around the context of being able to get more kids from our area involved in the event that my son is involved in here, which is this combine. And the way he got there is he was able to go to a couple of camps where he was a standout at the camp and he got an invite, right? And so a lot of kids don't get that exposure, and we need to figure out a way to bring that exposure a little closer to home. I can tell you that Crystal City has 3 kids at this camp, and the way they got them there is some of the booster club in Crystal City got the camp to come to Crystal City.
Yeah.
And I remember they were putting out, and I probably should have done a better job promoting this, but one of the dads, I know him, his name's Eddie Gutierrez from Crystal City. He was pumping this out on social media, and I don't believe any kids from Eagle Pass even traveled, 40 miles to Crystal City to get involved in the camp, and they should have. And so, back to your question, it all kinds of it ties in. We have these geographical issues because we're somewhat remote, if you will. We have a historical issue because we don't have this pedigree of players that have trotted off to the NFL or to Division I football. We've had very, very good players in Eagle Pass, but it's very sporadic, right? It's not continuous. And I think we can't ignore the big elephant in the room. There's a racial component to it. And the racial component to it is traditionally a lot of schools that are predominantly Hispanic, and especially along the border, just don't get the looks that we should get. It's on a lot of different levels. And so I think being able to develop players, I think as Eagle Pass grows, and it's growing, you're going to start to see an influx of more families, more kids in schools means more opportunities to be able to look at more kids and develop them. And I think it's going to be a slow process, and we got to chip away. But to believe that somehow changing, the school board or changing the complete coaching staff is going to vault you into the semifinals of the 6A Division I state playoffs is childish. That's not the way it's going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to work. Again, like you mentioned, the pedigree of kids, and again, you hit the nail on it as far as coaches coach and players play, and when you have kids that don't want to put in that extra work, I think the off season is where you get better. It's not in season, it's off season, and if you have more kids working out in the off season together, it gives a different dynamic to the team chemistry.
There's and to that point, Freddie, one of the being at DeSoto, like for, I was asking Paul, they did, I think it was 6 weeks or 5 weeks of whatever that summer thing was. And they call them voluntary, but it's not. If you expect to play in a place like DeSoto, that stuff is not voluntary.
No.
It's mandatory. And, while that, and that has to come from the kid and the parent. The kid doesn't get himself, by the way, Grinch is in full effect over there.
Yeah.
You know what? That actually is improving Grant's looks right there.
Oh, yeah. No, that right there.
That is an improvement.
Sorry about that, man. Duty calls. I try to give you a live picture of Santa taking pictures, but I got to go in and F with the kids and tell them they ain't getting nothing. You know what I mean?
Well, we can all.
Someone said, "Hey, Santa, what do you want for Christmas?" He goes, "I want a swimming pool." I said, "I don't need."
Well,
I told me, or some wheelies or a Barbie. Una alberca, hijo de su madre. Come on.
Don't you want a jersey or something like that? No.
Well, as Grant is going to be in and out at Hyundai of Del Rio.
¿Sabes qué, Grant? Regálale una pala. Here you go. Get after it.
No lumps of coal here. All right, as Grant,
that's 90,000.
As Grant gets ready to go out and play the Grinch once in a while, we'll keep hearing from him. But we're going to go ahead and switch topics
If
here.
I can make a comment to what Poncho was talking about.
Oh, go for it. I'm sorry.
Without being racist, because I'm Mexican, even though my last name is Bibb and I'm white, but I'm Hispanic, right? But not Mexican. But the reality, there's a guy named Jimmy the Greek. I don't know if you got Poncho might know him.
Yes.
But Jimmy the Greek got fired for making comments. And part of the thing is, without trying to be racist and what it is, it don't matter. Coach Olivas, Oki, Mr. Foster, all these coaches that come in and came between. Just on the fact, I'll give you an example. The guy that Paul coaches, the guy from DeSoto, I think number 76. The guy's like 6'5". I mean, he's the number one recruit, right? He's an animal, 6'5", 3 something, right? Well,
yeah,
our biggest guy in Eagle Pass is like maybe 6'4", 250, if that.
if that.
So you can't round one and round two. You know why? Eagle Pass. We got a couple times, and it's true. Without being racist, that you look at basketball, and you look at them. Most of them are all one color, except for the ones that can really shoot, or the ones from Europe. If you look at the Olympics, almost all of them are the fast sprinters are one color. It's just like Jimmy the Greek said. He goes, hey, if you want to get them better, that's why you got to. So you got to breed all the people with the female black people to get the best athletes. And not to make it a racist thing, but when you look at it, I mean, the way we're built, a tall Mexican you see him dominating in baseball. Why? It's a little bit different. Look at Altuve. Altuve's 5'4", one of the best hitters, right? He's Venezuelan, but he can't be a quarterback. He can't be a linebacker. It's just really what it is. So round two, round three. After that, man, you see the entire line. They're all 6'5", 6'4", 6'3". I mean, look at this college game. You see Poncho can see like, wow. Even though Poncho's kid is good, right? But what does your kid play, Poncho?
Tight end. I mean, you got 8th grade kids there that, like I tell them, you're not going to win the contest getting off the bus. You got kids already in the 8th grade that are 6'2".
Yeah.
Maybe I said over time, time and pressure create diamonds. Over time, once you put them in pads and once you start, making plays, you measure up. But frankly, a lot of this stuff has to do with the measurables, right? And so the first measurable that people look at is, what do you look like physically? That's number one. What do you look like? And so, and that's how the coach's adage is, who walks off the bus first, right? Who do you send off the bus first so that the opposing team sees them? You send your biggest kid out there. And what I think Grant's speaking to is that we're privy of a lack of numbers. It's a numbers game. How many kids do you have in your school? How many kids do you have in your district that are coming out? Like, for instance, in baseball, we have a lot of kids that, percentage-wise, you have a lot more kids playing baseball in Eagle Pass than you have playing football. Yes, you have more kids playing football, but for the number of spots that you have on a baseball team, you have an overwhelming amount of kids that are trying to get those spots on a varsity roster, right? Because there's fewer. And so the numbers will dictate how successful you're going to be. And I think as Eagle Pass becomes more urban, we're going to see a little more success, I suspect. And that's not to say that a kid doesn't have a chance. It's just harder.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right, now we're going to move to the next topic here, and that's good points. And speaking of high school, I know I was about to move to college, but we still got high school basketball we got to cover. Both boys and girls varsity teams from Eagle Pass High School and CC win. All teams looking pretty good so far. I mean, you know what? I'm looking at this. I believe it's that website that doesn't have the complete roster, but it does have like the schedules and stuff that's going on. So Eagle Pass had I think they just lost a game to Alexander.
Yeah. It's 36 and 36A guys. Alexander is at 2-0. United South is at 1-0. Medina Valley is at 1-1. United is at 1-1. Eagle Pass is at 1-1. They beat LBJ on Tuesday. They did lose to Alexander. So they're 1-1. Del Rio is 0-2. We got to see Del Rio early in the season in their tournament. I do have highlights from Coach Patino from the coach over there and that tournament that they had. We'll get you guys those highlights in another show. LBJ is 0-1, but the last night's scores: Alexander 63, Eagle Pass 51. It was a 12-point game. It was close at the half. And of course, that game was played here at Eagle Pass at the high school. United South beat Del Rio 75-40. Medina Valley 71, United 57. On the girls' side in 36A, United South is comfortably in first place at 3-1. Alexander at 3-0. Alexander at 3-1. United is at 2-1. Medina Valley is at 2-2. Eagle Pass is at 1-2. Del Rio at 1-3, and LBJ at 0-3. And some scores to give out from this past Friday. Of course, United South beat Del Rio 70-21. United beat Medina Valley 62-55, and Alexander beat Eagle Pass 67-45. Now, that right there, that score 67-45, that is an indication that Coach Flores has been doing a tremendous job in the interim job as far as coming in and being the interim head coach there, because historically they have not been able to score. They haven't been able to score more than 20 or 30 points against any of the Laredo schools. So again, that is kudos to them. And just to give you guys, some more stuff happening in local sports. Of course, the Lady Mavericks soccer, they did play against Del Rio Heritage on the 18th. Their next tournament, or their next kind of scheduled, is January 2nd. So in the new year 2025, they'll be in Brownsville for their tournament up in Brownsville, or down there in Brownsville for the Lady Eagles soccer. They play actually Laredo Nixon in Laredo on the 27th. So that's next Friday.
What is Del Rio Heritage?
Del Rio Heritage is a public school. It's like a public-private school.
Is it a charter?
Yeah, they have a charter. But
or is it a charter?
Heritage, it's a charter.
Okay.
It's a charter school, but
Wow.
they do have some athletes there. They do have on the boys' side under Coach Ray Reese. They do play today in San Antonio against Stevens. They play at 11 and 12:30. So we'll hopefully get some scores from that pitch over in San Antonio to get you to next year when we have our first show of the year. For the Mavericks soccer, they have a scrimmage here at the SAC. They're actually playing right now against Taft. And of course, they have their alumni scrimmage on the 28th. So if you guys want to see some alumni play against
one of our drivers deliver all the way to Idaho.
The Idaho. So they will be also playing on the December 30th against Del Rio. That's over at the SAC. As far as the Lady Mavericks are concerned, as far as basketball, they played Thursday. That's the junior high. Excuse me, junior high. They played Thursday on the 19th against Eagle Pass. And for the boys' side, they did play in Uvalde on the 16th. Their next game is against Carrizo in the new year on Thursday, January the 9th. For the girls' junior high, they did have, of course, that game against Memorial, and their next game will be away in Carrizo against the middle school of Carrizo on Thursday in the 9th from at 5 and 6. On the boys' side, they did take a trip on the 19th to Laredo Christian. I believe the A team did win and the B team lost. We're trying to get some scores from Adrian Rodriguez and Henry Silva over at the junior high. For the girls, CC win. They did play Southwest yesterday. Didn't get the score from that one. And they will be playing John Jay on the 31st, trying to get Coach Compián.
It was Southwest. What day did they play them at? Was that yesterday, right?
Yeah,
I believe they lost. It was 33-56.
Okay, 33-56. So yeah. So I believe they started their against Harley or MacArthur. They're deep into their districts. They played South San, MacArthur, Harlandale, Legacy, McCullum, Southwest. So their next district game will be against John Jay. And then of course they round up in the new year on January 3rd, the first round of district play. We might go out there on that day as they play Southside at CC Wynn High School. So that's what's going on with the girls' side. On the boys' side, with Coach Biddle, of course, he's trying to get back into the playoffs for the second year in a row, as they had a playoff They got into the playoffs last year. They play Southwest in Southwest, and they'll be playing John Jay, and of course they'll finish off with Southside at Southside. So we might go on Tuesday and catch John Jay. I know John Jay was at the tournament in Del Rio. The time that we went up there to catch him. Like I mentioned, the Lady Eagles, under the direction of Danny Flores, the interim head coach, he had, of course, that win against LBJ on Tuesday, lost against Alexander. Their next game is not till January 3rd against United South. It's going to be here on Friday, January 3rd. So make sure you guys go catch that. So there's plenty of stuff that and of course, Coach David Chisholm, we had a chance to talk to him, and he's got 9 seniors on the basketball team, and he's expecting big things from Santi and the crew. So again, with the way he explained it, I mean, some of the kids when they practice, because I saw him a couple of last week, just understanding that the way David played back in the 80s is the way he coaches. He coaches tough. He likes to, beat up people down low. Like he's that type of person. And Grant and Poncho can attest to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the obviously a good coach will put his imprint on the team. You don't have a good coach when not even the bad traits, if you will, of a coach are imprinted on a team. But in this case, the good things. And I think you highlighted something about David as a player, and the way I know him is a lot of toughness, and not just physical, but mental toughness about playing the game. But I think I'm not really surprised about the outcome in that game in Alexander. Alexander has a very, very talented post player, a guy named his last name's Eads. I know his parents actually, and he is he's very tough down on the block. And for as good a player as Santi is, that's not, it's not his responsibility to guard down in the block. He's more of a scorer, a wing player.
Yeah, he's a perimeter guy.
Yeah, and so that's not his game. And I suspected they were going to have trouble with Eads, and I was not wrong. The final score indicated. And I don't know. I don't want to say that the guy went off. I think he scored right around 20 points. But there's no moral victories in there. They lost the game, right? And
yeah.
And so I think for Eagle Pass to have a shot, they need to figure out a way. Getting past district and making some noise in the playoff, they need to figure out a way to handle some of these bigger and more athletic post players. And Eads presents that kind of challenge to them within the district. And I think that,
of course,
going down the stretch, that's something to look at because they're going to see Alexander again.
Yeah, they again with the way with the way the district is, they go round 1 and then round 2. Round 1 is still like there's still some games. Of course, they end round 1 and on January 10th against Del Rio, and that's in Del Rio. So against Medina Valley, and then they start the second round against LBJ, and then so they'll end the last 2 games of the season. Del Rio and Medina Valley are going to be at home at the confines of the high school gym. And that's a different atmosphere when you play at the SAC to playing at your high school. And I've seen it over and over in Laredo with Laredo Alexander United, United South. Like the student section gets freaking crazy with those.
Where's
schools.
that? Where's that, Freddie?
Laredo United, Laredo Alexander, and United South. Those student sections get crazy, and we haven't seen that here in a lot of years. Yeah,
again, it's culture. And you got to give them something to get excited about it. I would tell them like Santi's a very well kept secret in terms of what kind of a player he is. If more people went to the games to see the kind of basketball that David has these kids playing night in, night out, I think we'd have more people there. And so I would encourage them to go watch. And I don't know much about CC Wynn's team, and I apologize. I should know more about them, but obviously they were a playoff team a year ago, and they're a team that we should be looking at as well.
Well, and again, like I mentioned, I did get in contact with David. I haven't been able to get in contact with Coach Biddle. I've reached out a couple of times, and again, it's just one of those things where once they're in the season, they get into this grind. And I even talked to to David, and I said, when's the best time? And he said, Wednesday is the best time for me to get on. And that's something that I got to look into, because I want to bring that other show, which is different from this Overtime Sports Show, is the Keep Talking Sports with Freddie Rea, because that's going to be more of a one-on-one type of thing with coaches and players, and that's a different aspect of what we do and what we're going to do with these type of shows. But Grant, to this whole thing with David, he's a personal friend of yours. How do you see, him losing last year by a bucket, not being able to punch their ticket, and Del Rio punching their ticket into the playoffs?
You mean by losing last year and trying to punch this year, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, I don't really get to watch a lot of the games like you guys do, because I actually live in Del Rio, right? But I was actually at that game, and I was sitting next to Gila and Jesse the Hawk Medina, and I actually called that play. Like, dude, the one thing you can't do here is give a backdoor cut layup.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I talked to Ricky, and look, I know a lot about. I promise you, there's not many guys that know about the games than me, because I watch them and all that. And then halftime, there was one guy. I don't know. I remember it was a guy. He was torching him, and I go, Ricky, just play a box and one, and don't let the guy touch the ball. This is the only guy that can beat you. And I told him, don't. So I tried to give him, okay, so whatever the guy shot. The guy made a big three to kind of, because Eagle Pass the lead. It was a great game. And sure enough, they threw the ball in. The guy went by, and it wasn't really Santi's fault. Santi's fault. What is he, 6'4", 6'6"? He went up and he tried. But I mean, when the guy's by you and he's laying it up, you can't. You can't only not even Manute Bol at 7'7" can do it. But I called it. The guy came around the screen, went, and I said, man, he goes, Grant, how did you know that? I go, because I watch the games. I'm watching what they're going to do. And had Santi gone out, at least let him shoot a jumper, right? So that was depressing. And you can't say it was bad coaching. It was just like, you can't get beat. Anything but that.
The guy made a play. The guy made a play.
But it's easy if he brings it in and he shoots there was only 3 seconds or 4 seconds, Freddie. Make him bring the ball in and take a three-pointer. If he makes it, great, you lose. If he misses, you go to overtime. But not on a layup. You know what I'm saying? That's just it. So Dave and I have spoke multiple times. He really loves his team. They're running and gunning up and down the court. But they have one great player in Santi, and a couple of decent players, and just a bunch of guys. Look, one thing about them, they're in shape and they're going to run. They don't get tired, which is good. But if they all buy in and they're getting all their minutes, because one thing in sports, as we saw with the Niners the other day, that if you don't get minutes, people pound their mat because they don't play. Like, nah, coach, I'm good. I don't want to play. And when you have that, it doesn't let you get to where you want to. Like what you're talking about, you can have the culture and you can have the coach. At the end of the day, when you call a play, the players are playing. As a coach, you make a decision. If you don't like what they're putting out there, have them bring in, sit next to you, and drink some water, and just hang out because he ain't going back in because he's not doing what you're asking him to do. So a coach needs to make the decision, because all the coaching call a play, and you can have the perfect play, holding offense. It comes back. That was a perfect play, touchdown, man. That was. I mean, look, I know points. This game's trash. 28-0. It's garbage. Last night, garbage. Notre Dame. I really believe, maybe we should go back to the Final Four, because we're getting more games, but they're trash, bro. And Texas, I'm surprised. I know Points is being a dad, but he should be in A-Town, but I get it. But Texas is going to beat the doors off Clemson. So you're going to have 3 games, 3 blowouts. Like, why even have all these games? But you know what? It's la feria, papa. It's about the money, right? It is what it is. But, I mean, it's 28-0. I think they get the field goal.
But look,
trash, 28-3.
In all fairness, Grant, look, watching the game is – and again, my son told me right now, he's like, you were right, Papi. I said, look, this is too big of a situation for SMU. Like, okay – and I said this before, with all the
because
money,
of the conference. It's all about the papa, yeah. Look at the conference they're in.
I said, look, it's only a matter of time before SMU's in the playoffs and even in the Final Four because of money. Right now, this is too – remember, they play in a stadium with 30,000 people.
Yeah. If you give them 2 years and all the people in the NIL, I get it. I get it.
And you know how I knew it was too big for them is they're driving the ball. They stopped Penn State. Their defense is live. They're driving the ball. They got a 4th down. They get the right call. They got the quarterback on the edge, and he makes a bad decision. Is all right. Maybe you get greedy.
Yeah, he had a first down. Yeah, he threw it. He dropped it. You're right. He had a first down. Right. Yeah, you're right. I saw that the first quarter.
And those for a team like SMU,
take the first down, keep the chains moving, and then you never know. Yep.
And
they lost the game right there. You're right, because it was 0-0.
Get down to the 6-yard line. Penn State makes a bonehead play also. Going for it on 4th down inside your own 25.
And they stopped them.
You're winning.
Yeah, they stopped them, and then he threw an interception. And it's like, I'm watching trash. I'm like, I'm not even looking back anymore. It's trash.
We'll try not to get all the games that are trashed. But speaking of college football, we are going to transition into the next topic.
Not only that, I lost money too. On top of that, I had the under in the first half. They scored 28-0. Had 20, so I lost like Jesus Christ.
All right, so we're going to get into the next topic. Speaking of college football, the 12-team college football playoffs era has commenced. The action kicked off on Friday as number 7 seed Notre Dame advances the Sugar Bowl with a 27-17 win over the number 10 seed Indiana in a first-round game from Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend, Indiana. Now the attention turns to a loaded 3-game slate on Saturday. Guys, what are your thoughts? We'll start with you, Freddie.
Well, again, like I mentioned, and like these guys are mentioning, some of these games we predicted of what was going to happen as far as, Notre Dame was the better team in Indiana. Okay. Now getting into tonight's game or later on today, Penn State, I knew they were going to do that to SMU. Texas is favored in the Clemson game. So again, we're gonna see some games that are just gonna.
Here you go, Poncho. Here you go, back. Hey, Poncho, back to days of Old Torf, baby, Old Torf, Village Glen, English air. Look at that, we're going.
I look because I'm in the DFW. I'm repping a little here. I got my Texas cap on, but I'm here.
I had to put my Grinch stuff on. I'm in the Christmas spirit. We're doing it, but hey, this is where it's at, baby. At least by 3 touchdowns, at least.
To Freddie's point, and let's talk about the Clemson-Texas game before we go on to the night game, which is the Tennessee Ohio State game. Is Texas has 2 losses this season, and they've lost to the same team in basically the same way. In the first game, it was the turnovers that wouldn't allow them to go. And frankly, if you cannot run the ball, Texas's penalties on offense, inability to get it done in the red zone against Georgia, and not being able to run in the red zone doesn't allow you to score. So now you look at the matchup. Right now, the matchmakers for the playoff, they look like geniuses because they seeded it correctly. Here's another opportunity in the Clemson-Texas game to see how well they've seeded it. And I can tell you that I believe, and I think Grant believes this too, is that there's not even Georgia. They only had 1 drive where they drove the field against Texas. There's not any other team in the country that I think can consistently move the ball and score against this Texas defense. And I know that the quarterback matchup between Ewers and Cade Klubnik, because they played in a state championship game, which is an incredible statistic for Texas high school football and Texas quarterbacks. Yeah. It becomes irrelevant when you can't play the game when you're lying flat on your back. And frankly, the defensive front 4 for Texas, I think, is going to impose their will. Clemson will not be able to run the ball consistently against them. And I believe today Texas can get off that slide they had against Georgia, not being able to run the ball. And I expect them to run the ball for 100 yards plus. And that's going to be the difference. You're going to see that.
And not only that, those that watch Texas, Sarkisian likes to do play action. Well, your play action don't work when you don't run the ball. So throw that playbook. You can't call certain plays. But you know what? Look, not because we're all Longhorn fans. Look, they have quicker, faster athletes on the defensive side than any team left in the playoffs. Texas will go far because their defense will keep them in games. What was more surprising than anything else was I could not believe when Beck got hurt. I said, "Shit, ya chingamos," because now that I like Texas, had money on him, so I got to go with my money. So this kid that came in, don't know his name. I still don't know his name, but he came in. He when he scored when Georgia wasn't doing crap. Texas was up 6-3.
That speaks to the mistake. Look, I guarantee you now, because that kid's got the reins now for Georgia going the rest of the way.
Yeah, because that guy's out. Beck's out. He's out, yeah.
If I'm a defensive coordinator playing Georgia, you know what I do is I blitz him. Texas figured it out. Like, just put some heat on the kid. He's too green. They allowed him to get comfortable. You can't do that. And if you blitz the kid and he burns you with a big play, it's just like your basketball analogy. You can't let him get these fundamental basketball plays to happen. You have to put him in a position to try to make difficult plays, and they didn't do that early on. But the book, just like the quarterback from A&M, the book's out on him. You have to put pressure on him. You got to drive him to his left side. You talking about
Wegman or the Negri? I forgot
the other guy.
Is Allen? What's his name?
Yes, and so this kid, the book is out on him too. He's a very athletic, tough kid. But I guarantee you, if you're putting a lot of pressure on him, giving him a lot of fronts and looks, he's going to make mistakes because he's a freshman. And it's okay. But to expect a freshman, if you let that guy beat you, it's because you played him like you were playing against their first-string quarterback, and he ain't that. Yeah. And so Texas has arguably a guy that, could start for a lot of different teams. They have a guy sitting on the bench that could start for a lot of different teams. And so I fully expect Texas to win this game today and move on.
And to y'all's analogy as far as what's going to happen, a lot of people in the media and a lot of people as far as Texas fans were upset that they did not make the change, or they did not do what a lot of people expected to do, is put in Archie and put in Manning for years in that second Georgia game to give them that spark. And moving forward, if yours doesn't have a good first half or a good first quarter, whatever the case may be, do you think that would change the dynamic of them putting in Archie?
Look, but ask yourself, did yours hold 12 times? No. So think about what was happening is they're making plays. Yours gave you 2 big plays running the ball in that A&M game. Granted, yours escapability is not what Manning's is, but you cannot ask your quarterback to keep bailing you out. You're driving the ball down, and you got a first down. Now you're in third and forever. Like, is that really yours' fault? And the answer to that is no. And so, that pick that yours made, I believe this is that there's certain moments in the game where yours is looking too much at the rush. He's there like a statue. But I can tell you that I don't think that Manning is that much better, if at all, than yours in those situations. How does Manning play, or what type of game does Manning play when the offensive line holds 12 times? And the answer to that is probably worse than yours. And so to those that were saying, you got to bring Manning in, okay, but is that going to make the offensive line play better? And the answer to that is no. And so until those things get worked out, it doesn't matter who's back there, because you cannot consistently move down the field if you can't block. I mean, their gap blocking and their down blocking were atrocious. They couldn't open one hole for a tailback. If any one of those tailbacks starts getting out for 4 or 5 yards, that play action game that Grant is talking about comes back to life. And so whether it's yours back there or Manning or the ghost of Y.A. Tittle, it doesn't matter. All the other guys have to play around him. And when yours has been at his best, it's because the O-line is steamrolling their opponents and they're not holding. And so I think that's the key.
Poncho, it's amazing how smart you are. Not because we're friends, but it's amazing how well you know the game of football. No, seriously, like the guy can. Like when Poncho's running his mouth, he's talking the truth. Like he's so right about it. They say, "Hey, well, let me tell you something, dude. Nobody can throw from the seat of their pants." You know what I mean? Texas, they lost the game. They couldn't block. Manning had a couple runs, but Poncho's absolutely right. Texas has such a great line, but Georgia dominates them. Don't ask me how, but they did it. But all you got to do, if you don't know anything about football, just watch 3 plays and watch the first 3 run plays. And when the guys are pushing them back, there's going to be a long day because in football, it's all about scheme and penetration. Who's going to penetrate, the defense or the offense? It's what it is. And Texas defense is so good that they're going to keep them in the game where their offense might just get lucky and they'll throw 4 or 5 quick passes or a couple of first downs. Their one hotshot receiver's out. Well, I forgot his name, but it ain't gonna make a difference.
Bond's out, but I mean, Wingo should come in, and I mean,
what's the name of that guy? I think he's from Houston or from Alabama. He's out.
Yeah, Isaiah Bonds. He's not gonna play.
Bonds. Yeah, but honestly, this is like the Eagle Pass Eagles and maybe like Laredo Figueroa or the Eagles and Catula. or the Javelinas of Crystal City. They're gonna wipe the floor with Clemson. It doesn't matter. It's a bye week.
Let me tell you where
The Grinch says it's a bye week for Texas. It's a bye week for the Longhorns. It's a bye
Final-
week.
Final words, guys. Final words before we
cannot
move on to
happen,
the
and I'm
topic.
going to leave you guys on this note because I got to get back to combine. What cannot happen is Texas cannot let Dabo out Jesus them because he's been doing that all week.
You're right. The thing is, he's a great coach, but you know what? Again, Dabo, they're 14-point underdogs because the experts say that Texas has more potatoes than with the Clemson guys. They got better athletes on the field, on offense and defense. And my dad, Gravis, said, he says that, hey, they just got more potatoes. It's just what it is. They just have more than what you got. So they're going to need turnovers. They're going to need to get all the breaks and all the big plays in Texas. Penalties. So when you see it, if it's close, you're going to see picks and all the BS calls go the Longhorn way to keep it close. Because right now, I'm not even watching the game. All right, look, I already changed the channel. It's 31-3 out of this change. I can watch Football Popper or watch the Overtime Show or Pancha La Voceada. It doesn't matter. Something else. This game's over. No need to watch
guys.
Football hey, I love y'all.
Hey, real quick, Poncho. I know that you said that you had to get out, but we'll get you onto the Hyundai of Del Rio Pick 6 because I know I have 6 games. That UTSA Carolina Coastal is one game. Who are you taking on that game?
I like UTSA. I mean, Traylor could just coach.
Yep.
Texas A&M against USC.
I like USC in that game.
Don't be stealing my picks.
Texas Tech against Arkansas.
Oh, I like Arkansas there. They're gonna come back. Suey Pig.
In the NFL games, Steelers Ravens. This is a big game for both teams. Steelers Ravens.
I was liking the Steelers yesterday, but I'm gonna take the Ravens because I don't think that I think Lamar Jackson's kind of cooled off, but he's gonna play a lot better. Remember that.
Eagles Commanders.
Nah, that's the Eagles, man. They're gonna put it back together.
Oh man, come on now.
And Vikings Seahawks.
Nah, right here, like that is an interesting game.
Yeah, it is because the Seahawks still have a chance to make the playoffs.
And I think right now the Seahawks are just they're hungry to play. Darnold can't play that well over the whole season. I just don't believe it. I'll believe it give me 2 or 3 seasons, Darnold. I can say, you know what, you're a consistent player. I don't see it. So I see the Seahawks. I gotta go, guys. We'll see you.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Happy Christmas.
Look at Morris.
Merry Christmas. Be safe. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, of course, when it comes to college football, we're going to go ahead and switch gears into MLB as Poncho had just signed off. So, I mean, obviously, we have a lot of free agency top picks. A lot of of course, Juan Soto, obviously the top pick. But what about the pitchers? We got a right-hand pitcher, Corbin Burns. While Soto is undoubtedly the best free agent hitter in the year's class, Burns is unquestionably at the top of the pitching market. Following him is Roki Sasaki. You have Pete Alonso for first base.
But to that point right there, talking about Roku Sasaki, he's a 23-year-old Japanese pitcher that December 10th, there's a 45-day window until January 15th for MLB teams to actually, court him, so to speak. So all the MLB teams have a 45-day window to court him. And Grant is somebody that can talk about what this means to any pitching staff and any team making or trying to make that run for another World Series.
Well, me personally, I know that guy is pretty good, but I mean, there's been a lot of great Japanese pitchers, man. I mean, golly, Matsuzaka came out, Tanaka. I can't even. There's been so many, but if I can get Corbin Burns, who's pitched in the MLB, who's great, give me that guy because this Chino's going to require chingos of feria, and Burns is too. But I'd rather take Burns, who's proven himself. But at the end of the day, man. I just saw where the Yankees got Goldschmidt. He's a great hitter playing first base, but he'd have been great had they kept Soto with Goldschmidt and all them other else. But at the end of the day, I mean, when you're in the playoffs and you have to face the guys the Dodgers have, it's just really not fair sometimes. Or like the Padres last year, they had Dylan Cease, they had Musgrave. They had the Chino, what's his name, Darvish, and somebody else. You know.
Well, to
So
your
again,
point,
you need, huh?
to your point about pitching staff, the Yankees did something in going after Max Fried from Atlanta,
Max
giving him
Fried,
an
yep.
8-year. You're
To
giving him
go
an 8-year.
with because it's not about a 3-game season. You got Garrett Cole, you have Fried. That guy Herman pitched pretty good. That the rookie, he got hurt a little bit. What?
Luis Gil,
Gil, yes.
Clark Schmidt, Gil Schmidt, and Carlos Rendon. Not only that,
Rendon.
but now looking at the fact of the matter that they added Cody Bellinger to the lineup, as far as that's concerned, what do you think about that whole Yankee situation in letting go of Soto, going to the Mets, whatever, go get your money. But now the market just went freaking crazy as far as free agency. You know, the Kyle Tucker to Chicago. Of course, you know, the Nolan Redondo, you know, he didn't want to come to Houston from St. Louis because he knows Houston is, if he comes, then, you know, Alex Bergman is going to be out because they play third base. You know, the Astros getting Christian Walker in a 3-year, $10 million deal or $60 million deal. So the free agency right now, after the whole Juan Soto thing, just went berserk. Yes or no?
That's very true. And now everyone's trying to make their teams and what they're doing. And sure, listen to the Yankees with Bellinger. They can put him in the outfield and at first base, or even Goldschmidt can DH because they got Chisholm, who's an outfielder, and put him at third. So they're getting people and trying, well, you're going to play here, you're going to play there, and trying to figure out what they're trying to do. So again, there's still a lot of more free agent signings, but teams, listen, it's like the portal in college. You have to get people to make your team better. And those that don't spend money, okay, you want to compete? Well, what you in the offseason to compete? This is why the Dallas Cowboys suck in the playoffs, because they didn't compete in the offseason while everyone got better. Yeah. You know what I mean? So the Philadelphia was already good, and they went and got Saquon Barkley. Well, what do you think? You think they're going to get worse or they're going to get better?
They got exponentially better.
You know, now Juan Soto's worth quite a bit of money. I don't know, about almost $1 billion, but the guy's a great player. He's only 25 or 24. So he makes the Mets better, but you know what? Who's going to throw for them? That scares
exactly.
You
Nobody.
know? They don't have really ace. They don't have like ace all-star pitchers. The Astros, I think they lost Tucker, they might lose Bregman. But they really don't have pitching like they did 4 years ago. They had a couple of good pitchers, and they don't scare you. Like, hey, look, guys, if we get 5 runs, we can win the game or get 4. But when you have to face pitchers that really pitch, bro, that game that the Dodgers, I think that Chino threw. I mean, man, he threw great. Or was it the Yankees? Or the pie was like 0-0 to like the 8th or 9th or something like that. Like, hey, I like a low scoring. I like old baseball. I like 0-0, 1-1, or 2-1. I like that kind of baseball. Some people just don't have that guy. But when you have multiple, you're going to go further because every 5 days, you're going to pitch that guy that can throw 98 and throw his cutter inside, outside, work a curveball and hit spots. You're going to have that. So some of these teams have one. Some teams have 2, 3, and sometimes 4 guys like that. And those are the teams that are going to go far.
Do you think Trevor Bauer will ever come back into the MLB?
Well, someone said, or I don't know, Facebook, sometimes they BS and they lie to you. Someone said it's like a one-year contract. Because they just said, hey, Kobe Bryant died. You know how Facebook does some crazy stuff, so-and-so died. But they said Trevor Bauer was signing a 1-year minor deal with the MLB team. But, dude, he's playing with Robinson Cano in the Mexican League, and nobody can hit him.
Yeah, exactly. He's
the best pitcher. Why not Cy Young? He was like 19-2. Like, nobody can hit him because he still throws 93, 94, 95. He's still 99. You know what I mean? And he does videos. Yeah. He watches videos on Facebook. I mean, the guy still has it. But it's because he not molested. He abused a girl with family violence. So he had a couple of cases. So they might not let him come in because, I don't know, I'm not the commissioner. But he'll help. I tell you what, the guy normally, like, look at Kershaw. Kershaw would blow him by you. Well, now he's a pitcher. Now he throws 88, 91. He can't throw 97 at your face. He has to pitch and junk and change speeds, kind of like Verlander. Verlander is 40, 41. He still throws 97.
Hey, hold on. But the best pitcher to me, in my era, or to be honest with you, the best pitcher that would, I mean, he was a surgeon, he was a doctor, is of course Greg Maddux. That guy didn't throw, he didn't get it by you, but he knew exactly where to spot the ball. The guy knew.
If you look at how
Greg
he threw,
Maddux,
I
good
mean,
pick.
man, his movement was the best. His movement was just, it's crazy. I
Everything
wouldn't
backdoor.
and they couldn't hit him.
Another interesting, Jose Trevino, of course, from Corpus Christi, drafted back in 2014 by the Texas Rangers. He's now a Cincinnati Red, as he got traded from the Yankees to the Reds for Fernando Cruz. So again, the Yankees are making moves to kind of, I guess, free up some more. I just don't get it, because there's no salary cap in baseball like there is in other sports. Understanding that most of these contracts that we see as fans, most of this money is deferred. It's not even guaranteed. So I just don't get it. Giving a guy this much money, we're going to be in the situation that Bobby Bonilla and the Mets have been for the past, 30, 40 years, or whatever the case may be, after he retires.
Every July 1st, July 4th, he gets $1 million for 40 years or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, people listening to the astronomical numbers that teams are paying, it's in reality, they're not paying this right now. They're paying it through, 30, 40 years from now, where the guy just kind of sits back in retirement, just gets a check, instead of getting, what our great nation should give most of us.
I think that kind of reminds us of a Dak Prescott situation. But then we'll go. With that being said, we'll switch gears onto the NFL, the playoff picture, and of course the fate of the Dallas Cowboys. I believe last show, Freddie, you said that the Cowboys season was indeed over. With
the Cincinnati loss, well, there's an outside chance. But there's a lot of scenarios that need to happen. I mean, it's not going to happen. They needed to run the table, and I don't want to get into this situation because, again, with the Cowboys and even in the media, there is some. I believe it was Cam Newton. Said it on Cam Newton the other day. He's like, "Why are we talking about these dudes? Why are we still talking about the Cowboys? Like, they're irrelevant. Why are we doing that?" But because their owner, the owner is always in the headlines and is always, again, we go back to the same thing over and over. I am a Cowboy fan. I've been a Cowboy fan since I was born in 77, but since the 80s. I grew up watching the Cowboys and the 49ers and those big things. And of course, in the 90s when they won the championships. So I got to see the Cowboys in their heyday, as you can see behind me. The triplets. That's that right there. But getting to this in the AFC, and that was the topic that I think we were going to talk about. But do you think the high ankle sprain from Mahomes is going to make a difference in the playoffs and the Bills kind of getting over the hump? The Chiefs right now are at 13-1. The Bills are at 11-3, sitting number 2. Of course, the playoffs are going to have to go through Arrowhead. The Steelers are at 10-4. Texans are at 9-5. Those are the 4 leaders in the 4 different as far as division leaders. The Ravens are at 9-5. They're second in the AFC North. The Chargers are at 9-6. As I think they lost to the Broncos, or they beat the Broncos on Thursday Night Football.
30-27, great game Thursday night.
Yeah, the Thursday Night Football game. So they're in the AFC West, and then of course the Broncos are third in the AFC West. So again, we have a lot of teams at 9-5 and 9-6, and this weekend and leading to the next couple of weeks, that there are going to be, games that mean something to get into the playoffs or to get into the second season. Right now, there's only 3 teams: the Colts, the Dolphins, and the Bengals. They're all 6-8. They're on the bubble. They're on the outside looking in. So to that point, Grant, do you think that the high ankle sprain to Mahomes is going to make a difference?
Well, here's what I can tell you. I know it's a problem, but he sprained his ankle on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Today's Saturday, he's playing, and right now I looked at his stats. He's got 2 runs. He's ran it twice for 27 yards, and he's got 13 out of 20 for 127. I don't know how many times he's been sacked. So your ankle hurts you from throwing the ball because you can't plant and escape the pocket to avoid sacks. So looks like they got 1 sack so far. So in really 5 days rest, 6 days actually Sunday to so 5 days in a wake up. So he don't have that extra day to rest his ankle. He's doing pretty decent if you ask me. So I would say it's not going to be a problem because he's playing against the Houston, who isn't a playoff team that has a pretty decent defense, and he's doing pretty decent. Now, I'm not watching the game and watching him limp around, but look, even though if Kansas City has to play out, because Buffalo, has 2 losses or 3 losses?
3 losses. They're 11-3.
Okay, so, Kansas City can lose 2 games. So Kansas City has to win 2 more because Buffalo has the lead because Buffalo beat Kansas City. So,
okay. Talking to that point, if the Chiefs happen to lose the 2 games and the Buffalo Bills get the bye, I think it's much harder to play in the you saw the snow than in Kansas City. Yes or no?
No, but Buffalo's a different breed. But you're right. So you know what? Kansas City has to win. They will have to win 2 out of their next. Otherwise, they end up with 3 losses, and Buffalo has to win out, and Buffalo gets the bye week, and you get to play in Buffalo. So there is a big difference. So we'll see what happens. I don't know who Buffalo plays this week. I don't know, but man, they played like I thought Detroit was the best team in the NFL to go to. I picked them to go to Super Bowl. Buffalo wiped the floor with them in Detroit. So I saw a whole different team. Like that Buffalo team, can't no one can beat that team because then they blew past Detroit and they stopped them. And but Detroit's been scoring everybody. So I've kind of taken a backseat, like, well, wait a minute, I just saw something. But that's what they say any given Sunday.
Yeah, in the NFC, the Lions are 12-2, the Eagles are 12-2. So right now it's a toss up of who's going to have the leg up in the playoffs. And then you have the
actually
Bucks
Buffalo's
at 8.
playing against New England, by the way.
The what?
Sorry. I said Buffalo's actually playing against New England, by the way. Sorry.
That's a bye week.
Yeah, that's
a bye week.
It's a bye week.
The Buccaneers are at 8-6. They're first in the NFC South. Like nobody wants to win the fucking South. The Rams are at 8-6. They're first in the NFC West.
That's going to be a tough division. Them and Seattle's going to come down last game of the season, and maybe even Arizona. They're still in there, kind of fighting.
Yeah, well, the Vikings are 12-2. They're locked in already. The Packers are at 10-4. They're third in the North, in the AFC North, and then the Commanders are at 9-5. They're second in the NFC West.
Don't count out the Vikings because the Vikings have 2 losses, like Detroit, and they play each other in 2 weeks. So they might end up getting home field. So don't the Vikings, listen, I've never been a Sam Darnold fan because when he was at USC, he sucked. He wasn't that good. And in the NFL, he sucked it. But you know what? Now he's in a system with great players. I mean, can you imagine getting to throw to Justin Jefferson and Hawkinson, a tight? I mean, so he's done really, really good. That program is in trouble. He's got a 1-year contract. Are they going to sign him and go back to McCarthy because he was a top pick? He was 9th pick of the draft. So, Minnesota has a problem. But you know what? Sam Darnold believes, and that guy coach is a real good coach because he's actually won with Minnesota. And look at the numbers Cousins put up. And now Cousins just got benched for Penix, and we'll see where that goes. But he got all kinds of money to get paid for Atlanta. So we'll see that. But again, we're gonna see in 2 weeks when Minnesota plays the Lions, and then we'll know from there as to how that's gonna turn out the entire playoffs and a potential first round bye.
And quick. Go ahead, Freddie.
No, and just there's still some teams in the bubble. Is the Seattle Seahawks at 8-6, the Falcons at 7-7, the Cardinals at 7-7, the 49ers are at 6-8. They're still in the bubble. The Cowboys at 6-8, and the Saints at 5-9. There's a lot of different scenarios. Of course, a lot of teams can get into the playoffs. As far as backdooring and with certain people losing and tiebreakers and all this situation. I just don't think the Cowboys will get into the playoffs. Two, you already heard from Micah Parsons. He doesn't care about his contract. He just wants to win. So you see from him, as far as a defensive player, saying, I don't care if I get 40, 30, whatever the case may be. He wants to structure it to where they have money. And I think what needs to happen from Dak and what needs to happen from CeeDee Lamb is they need to restructure their contracts to make salary cap, to make it worth them going and getting people that they need to get. Of course, who do you have? Their number 2 receiver is Turpin. Like they don't have a real number 2. Brandon Cooks, everywhere he's been successful. With the Cowboys, he hasn't been successful because of the dynamic of what McCarthy. They need an offensive coordinator. They need Zimmer to start playing to his defensive strengths. Now, Overshown, he's gone. You also got your corner in Diggs. He's gone. And we haven't had the whole defense. Of course, Bland was out with an injury. So there's been a lot of things that have happened on the defensive side. You had a couple of guys defensively, as far as with Parsons being hurt, and then of course their defensive end also being hurt. Like there's been some issues throughout the season, and a lot of people, yes, they blame Dak because you got the freaking money that you wanted, and of course that's what people see. They don't see the whole spectrum of what's going on. And the fact of the matter that they're not going to win unless Jerry Jones gets his old ass out of there. I'm sorry. You need to understand. We've been saying that for years and years. In national media, even his own radio station, 105.3. Like, literally. He got upset in that one remark from one of the guys that was there. Like, why are you asking me this question? Well, because I think every single your fan base is pissed off, and again, we're fed up with you saying something and not making it happen. You say you're all in, but you're not.
Yeah, that goes back to where, and we'll move on in just a second to the quick pick 6 because we're at an hour and 10. I just want to throw something in there besides this. It all falls down, I believe, in my opinion. I think there's opinions of others that feel that Jerry Jones is just kind of, going with the flow when it comes to America's team always being the topic of this of the century in every show and every news media platform. Even though that they're what's their record now? What, 6-8 or no?
Right now, yeah, they're 6-8 right now.
Yeah, 6-8, not that great of a record. I mean, it's the
past 3 seasons. The past 3 seasons, you've had a 12 game. You won 12 games, 13 games, whatever the case may be. You were successful, but yet you were successful in the regular season. But when it counts in the second season, you were not successful. So again, when you wait to pay your players just like that, they did not have the continuity. Yes, you're a professional, but you also need to be there in mini camps. You also need to be there in training camp. And when you're not there, that's where the dynamic kind of goes out. Yes or no? I mean,
oh yeah, no, absolutely. I think fans just need to boycott. You know what I mean? We're always going to be, of course, we're always the top number 1 fans when it comes to the Cowboys. We love our Cowboys. But it's time to say enough. You know what I mean?
If every Cowboy, look, I hate the Cowboys because of what he did to Jimmy Johnson. I'll always hate the Cowboys. But if everyone that really loved the Cowboys, if they really gave a shit and cared, they shouldn't buy none of their games. They should buy no Cowboy gear. don't watch the games, don't go to the games, and then maybe hey, well, Jerry Jones, if you get out, then we're back in. Which nobody will do it.
No.
Right. No.
Nobody
Well,
will because
what
I'm
happened?
like, dude. So all these Cowboy fans that like him, that's what they get for pendejos being Cowboy fans. Because it's not gonna change, dude. It's not gonna change. You know what the truth is? No, Tom Brady changed. Okay, Tom Brady, the greatest winning quarterback of all time, because there's throwers and quarterbacks. The greatest winning quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, restructured his deal and got paid dog shit to win championships. Michael Jeffrey Jordan got paid less money to keep Rodman and Pittman because he knew he needed a rebound or someone. Okay, the greats have done it, and they, you know what? And they still won rings. But
Yeah.
now the Cowboys have. So now next year, now you got to pay Parsons. So that you're gonna have 3 great players, 4 great players, and the rest is just junk. That's why you see
Yeah.
the Cowboys sucking because they don't have the same guys blocking. Yeah, they drafted one guy, but Martin's gone, Frederick is gone, Smith. That's why they can't run the ball.
Yeah,
Again,
their
you
line
can't talk
left.
about that. Dak doesn't play defense. Dude, the Cowboys gave up 40-something points, 4 straight games at home. Dak doesn't play defense. He doesn't
No.
tackle. You know?
No.
So, because, again, the Cowboys had an entire offseason. Like, they had an entire offseason because they didn't get squad except Zeke Elliott. Like, Jesus Christ, that's not going to make you win games.
No,
So,
that's not gonna.
to all the Cowboys fans, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and continue to suck. They're not going to win the Super Bowl for a long time because of what's happening. So I hope all the Cowboys fans that listen, boycott, don't buy nothing, don't watch it. And you know what? If everyone does it, maybe then they'll be America's best team because it's a fallacy, it's a fraud. Because they do have some good players, but come on, man. Even the Commanders have a better team than the Cowboys right.
Well, Grant, and again, it happened in baseball. Like you saw the Oakland Athletics, you saw their attendance. Like there's been franchises in the history of sports that, as far as franchises, as far as their fan base, just basically saying, throwing the middle finger, both middle fingers, and saying, "You're not doing anything to, like, here, we're gonna flip the bird on you guys. We're not attending any games. We're not buying any merchandise." If people would understand that, and again, to Stephen A. Smith and all these guys on national media, it is redundant to hear the same thing over and over and over when they're not relevant anymore. They haven't been relevant. Every year, every sportscaster kind of says the same thing. Yeah, they're a top tier team. They got this, that, and the other, but the ownership and even his son has said it publicly, but he doesn't want to give that stuff up. He doesn't want to. It's all about him. It's all about Jerry Jones, and that's the reason why Grant hates the Cowboys, is because they did Jimmy Johnson dirty. Yeah. If Jimmy Johnson was still there, they would have won 95, 96, 97. They would have won multiple championships. We would have been saying that them and the Steelers were like kind of back and forth in the 49ers as far as total championships were concerned.
We're gonna have to wish those guys the best of luck in the rest of the season. I just don't see it happening, and whether how long it's going to take or what it's going to take to get Jerry Jones to finally realize that he's probably not even going to live long enough to see his Cowboys go to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, that's harsh to say, but
Wembanyama went off the other night against Atlanta in that overtime win. He went for 40, but again, that guy, Castle, him, Area 51, as they now call it, with him and Wembanyama. As far as Castle is coming into his own, and the leadership that Chris Paul has brought in, and of course we want to send our a speedy recovery to Greg Popovich. I know that he did finally make a statement as far as his recovery after his stroke and stuff like that. So even though you're seeing old school kind of with the new school kind of flow, because they're getting back to playing defense and of course getting that offense And the NBA, as we know it, has changed. As we see a lot of teams just, throw up threes. It's disheartening. I'm used to, the Spurs and the 80, the 80-point games and that kind of thing. The defensive style type of thing. Low to high, that type of thing, where you're using your power forward and Tim Duncan, you're using your big guy Dave Robinson, the low to high. Now it's basically high to low or just shooting up a three.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And getting that old school flavor in there, finally, with a young team that still has a lot of work to do. Getting a leader like Chris Paul into the mix, that's definitely going to do some damage and get them to the playoffs. I mean, they're looking pretty good, despite the fact that Greg Popovich is absent. So there's a lot of good things coming their way. And we look at, we kind of look at the past and how it was back in let's just go back in 2004. They had, good gosh, they had remember Malik Rose?
Yeah, Malik Rose, but Malik knew his role. He knew he had the 5 fouls. He went in, he did his job as far as rebounding. He was one of their enforcers. He was a rebounder, and he knew he was going to get minutes. But everybody knew their role back in the 2004 season, and we go back to the Manus and the Parkers and the Duncans and everybody that contributed to that 2004 season. But understanding that they all had a role, they all knew their role, and that's the reason why Popovich was and how he's been a namesake in the NBA.
Absolutely, definitely one of the greats and one of the Mount Rushmores, or who belongs in the Mount Rushmore of coaches in the NBA. Greg Popovich. We do wish him a speedy recovery.
Grant,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Grant. What do you see from the NBA? Because of course we're getting a lot of there's a lot of national attention on the fact that these games are just getting even the All-Star stuff. They just, the format of the All-Star. They want East versus West again. They don't want this whole thing about team LeBron or team whatever the case may be. It's a glorified layup line.
I can tell you, man. The NBA. I lived in San Antonio from 03 to 07, and I used to have season tickets. And I went to all the finals, even when they won in 99, 03, 05, 07. I was there when they beat the Pistons. I was there when they beat the Knicks. I was there when they beat the Nets. And I was there when they beat the Cavaliers. So I went from being a big-time Spurs fan, not because Tim then retired. Dude, honestly, I don't even watch the NBA. It's really sad. Like, I used to look, I knew the names of the referees. That's how I knew basketball. Not because I gamble too, but I mean, I used to really I don't even watch basketball. I watch the playoffs because I like it. I like it. I love to watch the All-Star game because of dunks and three-pointers, but I really don't watch basketball. I am no longer a fan of basketball because it's a three-point contest. It's really not basketball. And I'm not saying Steph Curry ruined the league, but because he does it, everybody wants to do it. And there's God-gifted Steph Curry with a talent that everybody tries to, but he's the only one that can do it all the time. And even he has bad nights. But I really don't watch basketball. Like, I won't watch basketball. I mean, my owner has season tickets to the Spurs, and I don't even want to watch the Spurs to watch Wembanyama. I just don't. And they're right there at the bottom courtside. I'm passing up on them because I just don't want to go watch a bunch of guys shoot threes. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, but understanding that the game has changed, but the Spurs still have a culture that they go by, and the way Greg Popovich and his coaching staff has done to keep that culture intact throughout. Even having the Lonnie Walker stuff, him coming in, him leaving. Most of the guys that have come in and left the program or left the culture, they've been successful in other areas, but again, you have to have guys that buy into the Spurs culture.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we're going to keep an eye on Wemby and the Spurs.
You're right. You're right. They do that, but the Spurs are still. And I said it the other day when I told you. I bet the Spurs when we told that the Spurs lost all three. When you said I said, man, I told you weeks ago the Spurs lost all three of those games when I told you, and I just saw it to see it. Look, they have a really good team. They're moving like this. They're just 2 players away. Chris Paul's going to teach them to get better, but they need 1 or 2 more guys to compete. I mean, come on, dude. The Lakers have LeBron and freaking Eyebrow Davis, and they're like the unibrow. They have the unibrow, and they're right there by the Spurs. Let me see. Let me just see how pretty close I am, and I don't even check stats. Let me just check the standings.
I think they're 14-14, the Spurs, and I don't know about the Lakers, but
15-12. See
who?
I'm pretty close. The Spurs are behind them by 2 games, and they got LeBron and the unibrow. You know?
Well, yeah, but again, you got to go back to. I don't know. I just.
The Spurs are 2 players away, but you know what? They have. You know, when Robinson got hurt, they got Duncan and they got Ginobili, so they got players, and in the system, I mean, trust me, the Spurs are going to be, like I told you, they're going to be 1 game around the playoff or in it for the game. Again, if they keep them to play better, I mean, or maybe if they want to make the playoffs, maybe they get a free agent in February when the playoff the trade deadline. They're going to have to get someone because they don't have enough to compete. They're going to be a step, but again, you know, the top teams, even Minnesota. Minnesota has a good team. They got their asses handed to them the other day by I think the Knicks because Karl Towns left, whatever. And they're at the top of the league, so. I mean, come on, dude. When the most here, let's change this up. Let me just make a comment that I want you to remember this comment. The most unathletic player in the history of basketball has won 2 or 3 MVPs in the Joker. Have you watched him how he plays? He doesn't even run. He just and he's the best player. He's not Michael Jordan that can jump. He is the most unathletic, and he has a triple-double.
Which one is that?
NBA. Jokic.
Jokic.
Oh, Jokic.
From Denver.
You just watch him play. You're like, you watch him play. That guy was the MVP, bro. Give me some Luka Doncic. You know, that guy's amazing, dude. Luka Doncic. I mean, give me Steph Curry. The Joker's the best player. That's a joke. The NBA is a joke. Speaking of it, the NBA is a joke.
Yeah. Before we close off on that, I mean, yeah, the 3-pointers were a rarity back in the day when it was the era of the big boys. I mean, you had I don't know if you remember the Red Rocket, Matt Bonner. You know what I mean? That guy had him, Brent Berry.
Would launch him. Bruce Bowen, Brent Berry. I mean, I trust I know them all. Jared, Steve Jackson in 03 when they beat Steven Jackson. He won a championship with them when they beat New Jersey Nets. They had Jason Kidd, Kerry Kittles. They had Kenyon Martin and some other hotshot, and the Spurs beat them with a great team. I think Stephon Marbury was there. I don't remember.
They swept
them.
But
I mean. They beat him, but Jaren Jackson shot a lot of big threes. He was he'd do it and he'd shake and all that. And then Steven Jackson, Steve Kerr. Listen, if you go back in 05, Steve Kerr hit some big shots in Game 5. The Spurs were getting beaten down, and they barely beat the Mavericks in 05 for them to win the championship and beat LeBron. No, in 05 they beat the Pistons in 05. In 07 they swept LeBron. But in 05 the Spurs were getting beat. And it wasn't for Steve Kerr. He resurrected him, and he won Game 5, and the Spurs beat the Mavericks. And then, of course, the Mavericks won in 06 when they beat Miami or whatever. But, dude, the Spurs and the Mavericks, man, those are some – I mean, you want to talk – I was at there. I saw Nowitzki in Game 7 beat the Spurs in 06 because Ginobili had just made a 3. I remember like it was – I'm getting goosebumps. Ginobili hit a 3, and in the timeout, it was going crazy. I dropped my beer. For the whole timeout, it was going crazy. The Spurs were up by 3 with like 18 seconds to go. Ginobili hit a 3. It was nuts. I mean, the most of all the games I've been to, that was the good because he hit it in the timeout and it was going crazy. And they got the ball into Nowitzki and he went for lip and Ginobili fouled him.
Yeah.
And he made the free throw. Game 7, the winner goes to play the goddamn Heat. I was there in row 14, and then in overtime, Sagana dominated Duncan.
Oh, Sagana.
Yeah.
I can't make this up. Look it up.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I was there. And to this moment, one of the worst moments. Hey, Derek Fisher, point 4. I was at that game.
Oh no,
you can't bring back the Laker
no,
one.
I was there. I'm telling you, I was there at the AT&T. Back then, it was Southwestern Bell before AT&T. I'm telling you, I was at these.
Was it the SBC Center?
Yes,
Yeah,
Southwestern
yeah,
Bell.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, let me tell you something. I used to watch Tim Duncan go against Amari Stoudemire. Man, look it up. 03-05. Dude, I was there, double overtime thing. Dude, trust me, that's why I love Kobe. I saw him as a baby. I saw LeBron. I used to watch. I was at there for these playoff games. Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Sean Merriman. That was real basketball. Kobe Bryant, Fisher, Shaw. I mean, I saw basketball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't have a job and have money to watch Michael Jordan. I saw Michael with the Wizards at the end of his career because I seen tickets. But I wish that I could have watched Larry Bird and Magic and Charles Barkley. And I wish I could have. But you know what? I got pretty good to watch Stoudemire, Shaq, Tim Duncan, all these Allen, Dwayne Wade. I saw all these Hall of Fame guys and watch real basketball, not this junk that we're seeing. Yeah. It's not real. It's really, dude, I can tell you stories of the games and the movie stars I saw. Hey, dude, everyone, when Tony Parker was there, Evan Longoria, I called it, and she had just started. I had better seats than her. I'm serious. She was her housewives before she married Parker. She was a seat where I go, who's that guy? And it was Parker's brother. He was French. I could see him. I mean, I can go on and on. I mean, Dave Robinson. I mean, I got great stories, but I've seen some of the best players of all time and live in the playoffs. But I mean, I used to watch Jason Kidd with Nowitzki,
White Chocolate,
and Michael Finley. Let me tell you something. One of my favorite teams was Donnie Divac, Chris Webber, White Chocolate, freaking Peja. Bro, I saw
the Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings.
They gave the Spurs. Let me tell you something. That was the Mavericks, the Spurs, the Kings, Stoudemire, and the Suns. I mean, those are 5 good teams. Because I mean, that was some phenomenal basketball. Yeah, that was great basketball.
That was the era. That was the era of the late 90s, early 2000s, before the whole Golden State thing and
look, I can tell you, the Spurs won in 99. Shaq won in 2000, 2001, and 2002. The Spurs won in 03. And then Shaq went back in 04 and they got beat by the Pistons. Then the Spurs beat the Pistons, go back to back. But there was a time of like 10 years where the Spurs and the Lakers were always in the finals.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. It was guaranteed. And they were the rivals of the Western Conference.
But look at the system and the coaching. Popovich and the system and the Zen master with a triangle offense.
Phil Jackson, yeah.
You know, now 1 year some team makes. Hey, whoever makes me really basketball. This is gonna sound stupid. Really basketball. Whoever makes a shot wins, right? But in basketball, whoever makes the threes wins because they're worth one more point.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
And going back to the NBA is also looking at trying to change the 3-point line and this and that and adding. No, don't change what's not broken. Like, don't do stuff like that. Just because you're falling off in ratings and the commissioner is trying to do now, what the MLB did back in the day. Remember when the All-Star game meant something, that you had to win it in order for either the NL or the AL to have the home field advantage playoffs. Yeah, so stuff like that I would be for, but changing or putting basically pockets. Okay, there's a square where if you shoot from here, you get a 4-point play. No, we're not doing that to the game. You're not doing that to the game of basketball that Naismith put together, back in the day. You're not going to do that.
At that point, they might as well bring in clowns and bring me, trapeze, freaking elephants and everything. It's a circus. Yeah. Bring the Grinch too. You know what I mean? God dang.
Well, I'm sure we can talk about how the NBA has changed all day, but we do have to wrap it up. We're at an hour and 30, so let's take it on to the pick six. for the Hyundai of the Real Pick 6. Freddie, what do you got on that?
Hyundai of Del Rio, 1508 Veterans Boulevard in Del Rio, Texas. Make sure you guys call them up. Don't forget, they have a lot of great deals. 90 days, no payment, right?
90 days,
0%.
no payment, 0%, Fred, on most of our vehicles.
Yeah,
Most
dude,
of our vehicles.
I've been looking at a Hyundai Elantra N line. I saw one the other day, silver.
Yeah,
that
the
you
one
guys
that was
sold.
kind of gray right outside.
Oh yeah, with the red trim. Oh my
Yeah, with the
God,
red
that's
trim.
so
Yeah,
sweet. Yes,
yeah.
I saw that. I was like,
Pretty dope.
that's my next car. But you don't ever call me and say, hey, I got a car for you already. Come
It's
get
pretty
it.
dope.
But no. But anyways,
It's pretty
the
dope.
Hyundai of the Real Pick 6. We already have Poncho's picks. UTSA, Coastal Carolina. What do you got, Grant?
Meet. I'll take the
Grant's gonna
Roadrunners.
go
Meet.
the Roadrunners. Texas A&M, USC.
And I don't really hate the Aggies, but
But yeah,
really
you do.
like. I like Lincoln Riley as a coach. I mean, it's weird, but I mean that guy's produced three. Listen, call it what you want. That guy has won 3 Heisman Trophy winners. I really like Lincoln Riley.
So you're going Texas A&M.
Yep. I'm not betting on it, but it's a pick show, so it's for viewers and not for gambling. So we're gonna go on the limb and take the Trojans.
Texas. You're gonna pick the Trojans. You're gonna pick A&M.
I said the Trojans. Lincoln Riley. I don't want A&M. Screw
Okay,
A&M.
got you. Sorry. All right. So Texas Tech, Arkansas.
Fight on. Wow. Texas Tech and Arkansas. Jesus. Look, if my owner ever watches this show, he's a Texas Tech alumni.
But is that the old Southwest Conference, Arkansas
Yep.
and Texas Tech, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Southwest Conference.
It's, you know what? I'm gonna take Arkansas to ground it out in a ground and pound game. I'm gonna take Arkansas. They have a worse team and they're favored for reason. I'm gonna take the Razorbacks. Pig Suey.
So I'm gonna go UTSA. I'm gonna go USC. And I'm gonna go Arkansas, also. Ruben.
Let's see. Definitely gonna go USC.
All right, fight on.
Going to Arkansas.
Okay.
And who was the other one again? The
UTSA, Coastal Carolina.
I'm gonna go Coastal Carolina on that one.
Really? You're going against the grain.
I'm gonna go against the grain on that. Yeah, I have to be
All
adventurous.
so
We'll never
then
know.
we got the Steelers, Ravens. I'm going Steelers. I'm going Steelers just because I think the Steelers have something to play for. Yes, the Ravens also have playoff, implications and stuff like that, but they have not used the running game. The Ravens, they've been relying mostly on Jackson, and they have not incorporated one of the leading rushers in the National Football League like they have early in the year.
Who's going
Yes
next?
or no?
I'm invested. I got the Ravens on a little future bet in Vegas, so I'm not getting off the train. I got money riding, so I'm gonna take the Ravens. And let me tell you something: the Pittsburgh beat the Ravens pretty easy last time, but the Ravens are gonna take it to Pittsburgh pretty easy today.
All right.
I think I'm gonna go Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Big believer in Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I'm gonna go Baltimore.
Eagles.
Freddie,
Eagles
don't mess with the
Commanders.
producer, man. The producer knows what he's talking about most of the time. Don't mess with one thing you do. You mess with the producer, they cut you off. So you gotta stay like, don't mess with the producer, man.
Eagles Commanders. I'm going Eagles.
Ooh,
Even though I hate them, I hate the East as far as if it's not the Cowboys. But you know what? Right now, it is what it is. Saquon is only 400 and something yards from 2000. Like, he's gonna get it. He's probably gonna go a $140, $150 to against the Commanders.
Why why would you pick that game with all these games? But you know what? I'm going to go against you. I keep saying it, in the next 2 to 3 years, the Commanders will be in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to pick them because I know what my eyes tell me. My eyes don't lie to me. I'm taking the Commanders. They really want to win this game at home and prove that they're going to be a playoff team to be reckoned with. So I'm taking the Commanders, the Redskins, RFK, Joe Gibbs, freaking you name it.
The Hogs.
John Riggins, the Hogs.
Yes.
Give me all of that.
Ruben, what do you
The
got?
Fun Bunch.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have to go with Grant here. I'm gonna go with the Commanders. They've been through so much over the years, losing their team name, going through quarterbacks left and right, losing their Robert Griffin III was one of their first draft picks. We lost him too. He was supposed to be a future Hall of Famer, and now he don't even announce anymore. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Washington on this one.
Vikings Seahawks. I'm going with the Vikings.
Vikings and Seahawks. Grant?
Well, I'm going to tell you that I really think that the Vikings have a really good team, and there's someone, but I'm going to take Seattle just because they got their ass kicked. Oh, my daughter's coming.
Uh-oh. There you go. He's got to play the part now. The Grinch who stole Christmas.
All righty, Grant. Thanks for joining us. All right. Well, on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and pick. I'm gonna pick Minnesota as well. So, hey, is that an Army backpack he just left behind?
He's an ex-Marine. He's an ex-Marine.
Okay.
So, guys, we got the pick six, the Hyundai of Del Rio pick six, 1508, the Veterans Boulevard in Del Rio, Texas. Make sure you guys go visit them. They got a lot of great deals. Want to send a happy retirement to of course Edward Graff, Coach Graff. He's officially retiring, or he officially retired here in December. And of course, Eric Villaseñor is our new athletic director. So 40 years in our community as far as Coach Graff. Yeah, and he's a namesake here. He's everybody knows, who he is and what he brought to. We're trying to get more people on our show that have, of course, done so much for this community. And again, we're going to bring you guys the other show that we have, which is called Keep Talking Sports with Freddie Vea. And again, that's more a one-on-one with coaches and athletes. And that's going to bring a different feel to what our overtime show is. Our overtime show is a great show, and a lot of people have been engaging with us and have said that the show has been tremendous, and we got a lot of great characters on the show and talking about what sports in general and the fact that we can go back and forth about even local stuff. A lot of times you don't have a lot of people that know what is happening locally, and we do. Everybody that's on the show knows what's happening locally, alongside Pocho, myself, and Grant, and of course bringing that whole take, and of course in the regional side, what's happening around the region in Bracket, Carrizo, Valde, Carrizo, La Pryor, Laredo, San Antonio, in that area. So again, we want to thank everybody who's joined us. Also want to send a big hoorah and a big happy birthday to my youngest son, David Heredia, who tomorrow, Sunday, is his 21st birthday. He's officially drinking age. And so big happy birthday. He's stationed in Indian Head, Maryland, serving our country in the Marine Corps. Also want to send a Merry Christmas to everyone and a Happy New Year, because our show will probably, our next show will probably be in the new year, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
New Year, yeah, of course.
Well, unless we have one next week, which would be, next week we still have December, 27th is the last Friday, or 2 days after Christmas. I know Christmas is on a Tuesday or Wednesday, something like that. Tuesday. So, again, want to send a Merry Christmas to everyone, to all my friends and family. And again, to our producer, Ruben Camarillo, who's been a tremendous. I see you as family now, man. We
I try.
I mean, we got together on a whim at a restaurant, kind of talked a little bit about what we were doing, and went from there, man. It was just one of those things where I think we both saw the vision and what this can be with All American Media, and of course now you know news and now you know sports. Please, guys, for everybody that's watching, go to our YouTube channel. Now you know Eagle Pass, the YouTube channel. Go subscribe. When you subscribe, press the notification. Because we are going to be bringing you live sports. We're going to be bringing you live sports here pretty soon. Grant Bibb and the Grinch is back on. We want to also thank Grant. Grant's been a great supporter of what we do.
He's a little busy there.
Of course, yeah, he's a little preoccupied right now still. But the Grinch who stole Christmas, that's of course his family. That's his son, his wife in the background. So wishing you guys a Merry Christmas. Hopefully we can get one more show in before the end of the year and start off the new year. I can't wait to call games again, man, and actually play by play. That's something that we're looking forward to, and a lot of people have been looking forward to. I know Grant has talked to me about when I'm going to do some play by play, and of course baseball is big coming up too. We got there's a lot of stuff to talk about, man. Locally, there's a lot of things that have been going on. So
absolutely. And really quick, before we take off, and I just want to say, this has been an awesome show. I think we absolutely have the talent. We absolutely have the vision of what we want to bring to the community, especially when it comes to sports. You know what? I'm happy just producing the show as much as I can and having our sports wizard here, Freddie, and of course our other guests at like Grant Bibb, and we have Poncho, who absolutely loves sports, who actually knows sports, and who actually can relate to all of you sports fans out there. So I'm super happy to be a part of the show, and whether it's co-hosting or just producing when I'm taking a break from the news. This is something excellent that we want to bring, and it's still growing. We have so much work to do, and how we can make the show better. Whoever's just joining us or whoever's joining us later, let us know. Send us a message in the DMs, and we'll do what we can to improve.
Like I said, make sure you guys go also to the Facebook page and go click on Now You Know. Is it EPTXN or EP something? What was it? Now You Know.
Yeah, it's Now You Know Eagle Pass, and then there's the Instagram. We have. I'll share it. I'll put a share on the pages and stuff. We'll get you guys in there, and you can follow us as we come every week on the Overtime Sports Show, and of course our podcasts. Now You Know Eagle Pass podcast, and of course our news that we try to bring to you as much as we can. So be on the lookout for those links as we share them.
Traffic is crazy. If you don't need to go anywhere, don't go anywhere. If you're on Main or Bibb, try to avoid those areas, man. As people are of course the paisanos getting back to their families in Mexico, to spend time with their families this holiday season. 2024 is almost done, and 2025 is right around the corner. The Grinch who stole Christmas, I can't do it, man, with him having that mask on.
Come here, watch it. Hey, Fred, watch this guy. Come here. This kid's giving me the business, talking about the Grinch. It ain't real, isn't that? I'm about to choke this kid over here.
Well, that'll do it for us. We're gonna let the kids get to
I'm
it.
on TV. I got other kids to help out for toys. You're bothering me. Get out of here.
Well, we're gonna let the Grinch get to it, guys. Thank you for joining us. That was our show.
Great show. I'm going 5-1 in the picks. I'm going 5-1.
All right.
Show.
Oh, guess what? I'm sorry. Hey, I know the last time I know Grant went with the Lions and the Bills won. I went with the Bills, 48-28. So the Steelers, I went with the Steelers. You guys went with the Eagles. The Eagles won 27-13. The Packers, I went with the Packers. You guys went with the Seahawks. And the Packers did win. So I'm 2-1 there. Everybody went Army. and of course Navy beat them 31-13.
Everybody took Army. Yeah, we all lost.
Yeah, we all lost in that game. The South Alabama, West.
That was a winner.
Yeah, that was a winner. And the Memphis, West Virginia. I took West Virginia. Grant and Ruben took Memphis. Yeah, so hey, we can't win them all, right?
No, you can't. Hey, no. I did. I really like Green Bay, but I took Seattle and then I took Detroit. So I lost a couple, but I mean, hey, I'm telling you, this week Seattle wins. This week they get it done.
All right, let's get
Ruben.
it done. And we'll
Peace out. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. For Freddie, for the Grinch, well, he's already out of there. He's going to go do some Grinch things. Guys, thank you for joining us on the Overtime Sports Show. Catch us next week, and we will see you guys later. And remember, what's the biggest phrase of here? Keep talking sports.
Keep talking sports.
Keep talking sports. That's right. Stay tuned, and we'll keep you guys updated on the brand new shows and podcasts that we got going. All righty. For Freddie, guys, take it easy. We'll see you guys next time. Adios.